And welcome to the Wednesday episode of DB2, heading into week 13. David Brem here with Daniel Butler as always. Butler, how'd week 12 treat you?
Unfortunately, not well. I hit my two running backs. I had the best running backs in the league. I would probably, maybe, Dalvin Cook and DeAndre Swift. I don't think there could be a worse week,
No, that's a
but
pretty
uh,
unfortunate.
but that's okay because we have their back. We have Madison, so I don't think that's too much of a downgrade. Obviously, Cook's better, but Madison's
Yeah,
still a
we
top
saw what he could do.
top seven, top eight guy. And then I had Jamal Williams too. So which is still going to be. I mean, when Swift went out, Jamal Williams came in and took like all the workload. So I'm still I could be down, but I'm feeling all right. I'm still should make the playoffs, so we'll make it work. And Swift, we'll see how long he's out for, and as well as Cook. It's not season ending, so as of what we know now. With
Yeah,
Cook though, I know he's pretty banged up. So torn labrum and a dislocated shoulder, I think is what I saw.
doesn't
So
sound great.
not
Yeah,
great. He had tears in his eyes as well, which is usually not a good sign. But I mean, generally when they're going off the field like that, but it does look like it's season ending. All right.
you heard it here. When you have debilitating injuries, Butler wants you to man up and not cry.
No, I'm saying if
Very,
you are crying, that means you do
very,
have a
very hurtful.
No, I'm saying if
Very
you are
hurtful.
crying, that probably means it's a very serious injury.
No, what I heard was
It's okay to
man up.
cry. It's okay to cry. All right. Before we talk about, I got a lot of stuff to talk about. We're going to go through all the games today, all of them. There is 4 teams on bye, which I'm guessing are, just off the top of my head, the Browns, the Packers, the Titans, and the Panthers. So 4 teams are on a bye. Make sure if you have any of those players, you find another option because those guys are not going to give you anything. Which, if you're playing like Zach Wilson or something, it might be better just to play one of those guys on bye because they might go negative. But anyways, I want to talk about the college football. I didn't mention Jared Goff. It was Jared Goff opportunity right there.
No, I was just trying to figure out who you think is starting Zach Wilson.
Anyways, college football playoff. I know that's not usually what we talk about, but the rankings, we have the final ones next week. Georgia, Michigan, Alabama, Cincinnati. I think everybody that follows it pretty closely expected those 4 to be exactly that
Yeah.
ranking. Ohio State and Michigan just flipped because Michigan beat them. Some people might have thought Alabama could be 2 because then you got Georgia 1v2, but I think Michigan was always going to be 2 there. So Oklahoma State now at 5, and Notre Dame at 6. Ohio State down at 7 would need a lot of help to be able to get into the playoff. Could happen, but Ohio State's probably eliminated at this point. Okay.
It's a real shame.
Yeah.
Real broken up at it.
Michigan should beat Iowa. Georgia, if Georgia beats Alabama, everything seems
We
all right,
need.
because that means
I don't say we. I want them to be
because that means
in there.
Cincinnati will get in, and then also Oklahoma State, if they win, they'll get in, and there's your 4. Pretty easy. It gets kind of crazy if Alabama beats Georgia because Georgia obviously still in. There's
Yeah.
no, Michigan will be in. Alabama probably jumps to 1. Michigan maybe stay at 2, Georgia at 3, maybe Georgia only falls to 2, whatever. And then the 4th team in is Oklahoma State or Cincinnati. That's where it gets super messed up unless Oklahoma State loses. Then obviously, and what if Cincinnati loses and Oklahoma State? Then Ohio State probably gets in. It's probably not going to happen, but there's a chance that's probably the path that Ohio State gets in. So there's and then or do they take is there somebody else at Notre Dame before a 2-loss Ohio State? I think 2-loss Ohio State probably gets in over Notre Dame because Notre Dame has no wins besides Wisconsin and they're not very good. So I don't think, and they just lost their coach, so I don't think Notre Dame's getting in. But I think Ohio State would jump them in that scenario. What do you think about anything I just said? Am I the most brilliant college football analyst you have heard?
Sure. I think. I think we need. I keep saying we. I'm not even that big of a Bearcats fan. I just really want them in there. Cincinnati needs Alabama to lose because I think the committee will do anything to keep a name they don't like out of the. As a TCU fan, I know they will do anything they can to keep a team they don't like out of the playoff.
But you're also a big Buckeye fan, so you were okay with what
I am
happened
not.
in that. Oh,
Not
I
a big
thought you were
Buckeye
okay
fan.
with them leaving TCU out because Buckeyes got they.
Not
No,
true.
not okay. Okay.
It was really fun, especially living in the state of Ohio. It was a lot of fun that year for me.
I did mention last week that there's a good chance we get 2 Ohio teams in the college football playoff. Doesn't look too likely right now because
Buckeyes didn't do their part.
they did not. So unless every Michigan lose, but then even if Michigan loses, they get into Ohio State. You beat them. You can't put Ohio State over Michigan, even if Michigan loses. So, anyways, let's talk about football. You know what I like to do? I like to look at. Were you looking something up before I do this? Or are you good?
I'm trying to remember if Baylor had 1 or 2 losses.
2.
Okay, then never mind. Because if they had 1 and they beat Oklahoma, they would. I think they'd and like all that stuff happened with Cincinnati and stuff. I think they try to put them in there, but not with 2.
Okay. Okay, we're good.
Yeah.
All right, we're good.
I don't know why we were talking about this anyways. I was just letting you go.
I thought it was interesting. You know, I mean, most people that like the NFL, I think like college football too. I think I don't know, maybe not. All right, here we go. Top 10 quarterbacks from week 12. Can you believe we're in week 13? That's crazy. Week 12: Josh Allen, Aaron Rodgers. Wow, he's been really lighting it up lately. Dak Prescott, Matthew Stafford, Mac Jones, Derek Carr, Carson Wentz at 7, Justin Herbert, Russell Wilson at 9, and my boy Trevor Lawrence, number 10. There you go. He got into the top 10.
Oh, great. We're back into this.
Joe Burrow just missing out. I will say, but of those 10 quarterbacks, Trevor Lawrence, Russell Wilson, they were 9 and 10. Especially Trevor Lawrence was not great, but you know what? He got 17 points, so well done there. Is anything here? Mac Jones, number 5. He seems to be that New England team. Yeah. Why is New England good? I don't understand.
Because we're living in a simulation and that we have to be punished.
All right, but no crazy games for quarterbacks, honestly. Running backs.
No.
Do you remember the running back game that the guy that ended up having 4 touchdowns? We had the Jonathan Taylor game last week. This week, we get Leonard Fournette, 4 touchdowns, which means
as somebody who went hard on Fournette this season, I'm very excited.
Yeah, that was insane. 44 points. Joe Mixon also had 32 points at running back too. Elijah Mitchell, nice to see up there. Cordell Patterson, number 4. Antonio Gibson. I played against him. I am not happy because I had a really good chance of winning with McLaurin and Lockett, and Antonio Gibson outscored both of them. Well done, Antonio Gibson. That made me feel real good. J.D. McKissick, number 6, which is crazy because that's 2 Washington football team running backs. If you're keeping track at home, McKissick got the touchdown.
No name,
Antonio
2
Gibson
running backs.
Got the yardage. So Austin Eckler, Javonte Williams. We said Javonte Williams, Melvin Gordon. One of them's going to be probably really. We don't know. You just take a stab. Every week. This week it was Javonte Williams. AJ Dillon at 9. Has he seated Aaron Jones as a running back there? And then Jonathan Taylor. What is wrong with Jonathan Taylor? Number 10. Is that the worst week he's had? I think that's the worst week he's had since week 1. Yeah. So, what is he doing? Wide receivers. Jalen Waddle. 28.7. No crazy games this week. Number 2, 23 points. They really just besides Fournette, really. There was no games that I think that just jumped off the page. Waddle, Higgins, Thielen at 3, 23 points again. We're not crazy. Kendrick Bourne at 4, Hunter Renfrow at 5, 21.6 points. That was a weird top 5. Waddle, Higgins, Thielen, Bourne, Hunter Renfrow. Deebo Samuel at 6, and he actually was out for much of that game. He's insane. Stephon Diggs, Deshaun Jackson at 8. Wild, another Vegas receiver. Odell Beckham and Cooper Kupp, 2 Rams to round out the top 10. So anything there you want to say about...
I mean, obviously, a lot of names you don't expect to be in the top 10. It was a weird week for wide receiver. I would say like Kupp and Thielen are like, and at this point Deebo Samuel are like the big names you expect to be in there, but everybody else is kind
Diggs
of surprising. Or Diggs, yeah.
Jack Doyle, tight end, number 1, thanks to a touchdown. Gronk had a huge day. He was the only guy receiving that had any value, thanks to Fournette getting all the touchdowns. Gronk didn't have a touchdown, but had 123 yards. That gives him tight end 2. Oh. Dawson Knox, again, one of the top tight ends. Mark Andrews, always a stud. Dalton Schultz, he's back. Gerald Everett, we talked about before. Hopefully you just played him instead of Logan Thomas, even though Logan Thomas did play. Everett may have played. Good job there. Cole Kmet, nice to see. Pat Freiermuth at 8. TJ Hawkinson at 9. And tied with him is David Njoku, rounding out the top 10. So a lot of studs up there this week. I mean, we didn't see Waller. We didn't see Kittle. But a lot of the guys you expect in the top 10. So that's good to see because tight end is obviously all over the place. But besides Jack Doyle being the number 1 tight end, only 20 points. That's obviously an amazing week for a tight end. But sometimes we have tight ends that will score 25 or Mark Andrews, I think one week had like 40.
Usually have at least one tight end who like gets the end zone twice.
Yeah, so
like you never know who it's going to be, but
pretty low scoring week, honestly. Besides Fournette, there really wasn't anything, which is so weird because I think it was last week we just had we had Taylor and Eckler, and then I think even wide receivers we had some 30. I think maybe it was Justin Jefferson at like 37, and we just had some crazy performances this week. Top tight end is 20. Top running back I mean, besides Fournette, was 32, which is good, but top quarterback, I don't even know if it was, did they even break 30? Like, there just wasn't any crazy. Josh Allen, top quarterback, 26.7. So
No.
just nothing crazy this week.
No. And honestly, that can make for a lot of like really good like tight fantasy games, which is always fun. I mean, you'd rather blow it out because you want to win, but always nice to like. I think a lot of games probably came down to Monday night this week, which is kind of fun for fantasy in general.
Yeah,
I know mine would have, other than the fact that I had Fournette. Like Fournette's the only reason I didn't come down to Monday night.
Yeah, mine did, but Antonio Gibson outscored both my receivers, so thank you for that, Antonio Gibson. I'll just the one game you decide to have a good game. You haven't been like good. I've been talking about how disappointing he's been. I don't know why I said that before facing him. I didn't look at the schedule. That's my fault. I should have waited to say how disappointing he was. All right, we're moving in to Thursday night. Thursday night football. There's a Thursday night game this week because there's usually a Thursday night game.
Only one.
But only one Thursday night or one Thursday game. There was only one Thursday night game last time too, but there was 3 Thursday games because that's how Thanksgiving works in the NFL. One this week, and it is the Cowboys again on Thursday night, taking on the Saints again, playing on Thursday night. They didn't play each other obviously, but they both played Thursday last week. So Cowboys against the Saints, and I guess the story here is well, Dak is Dak, Schultz is Schultz, but it's kind of what we expected outside of, the wide receivers were Wilson and Gallup both were good.
Yeah, we talked about both of them being good options.
We said Gallup was top 20, Wilson maybe top 30, 35, something well behind that, but both of them end up top 20. The Zeke and Pollard stuff is still, I mean,
I keep fighting it, and I think I need to stop. Like, I keep fighting the fact that Pollard is going to be as close to Elliott as he is, and it just seems like that's the way the rest of the season is probably going to go.
I mean, Pollard got 42% of the snaps, which I think is a little bit higher than he's been getting. He actually out-carried Elliott. Elliott got in the end zone here. But the big thing with Pollard is he had a return touchdown. I think that was this game, where he actually returned a kickoff, so that's an extra 6 points there. So the touchdown doesn't show up in our box score, but I believe, if I remember, that was what happened in that game. So he also had 4 catches for 32 yards. Zeke had 6 catches for 24 yards. Again, not a ton of yards there, but a lot of points. Zeke also got in the end zone to give him running back 15 for the week. Not what you want out of your number 5 running back. He was drafted at running back 5. But you're not probably going to complain about being running back 15 generally, unless it's like.
Well, and we're to the point in the season where I think you've readjusted your expectations for Zeke. Like, I don't think if this would have happened week 2, you would have been way more disappointed. But I think at this point you've kind of readjusted your
yeah. He's always going to be around like top 20, and he may crack the top 10. Every so often. Yeah. That's kind of where he is.
I think that's perfect. Yeah,
and he's currently running back 10 on the year, so that's about where he is. I think. If you're ranking,
I will say I think with Lamb and Cooper back, like Gallup probably still has some value. But I'm probably not going near Wilson.
I mean, I just want to point out real quick, Gallup and Noah Brown. Noah Brown 6 for 53 in this game, so he was solid as well. But both played most of the snaps, and then Cedric Wilson was a little bit down there. But yeah, they ran a lot of 3 wide receiver sets in this game, which you like to see for Gallup. And if this is something they end up doing when those guys come back, that does help Gallup's value. If we're not seeing 2 tight ends like we were with Jarwin and Schultz, so we're now, it looks like we're moving into a 3 wide receiver scheme, which is good for Gallup. I mean, it doesn't really probably matter too much for Cooper and
I don't think it affects them.
No. But if there's 3 wide receivers out there, then they're always going to be out there. I guess that's nice, as opposed to you get Gallup in sometimes. If there's always 3 wide receivers, it will always be Lamb, always be Cooper, and then Gallup and maybe Wilson. Will move in sometimes. So that's good to see. I guess for the whole receiving core, besides Blake Jarwin, I guess, but I think he might be out. So yes, it's good news for the offense, and it's good to see Dak come back with a nice fantasy game. Maybe not the best football game, but it was pretty good fantasy wise. So quarterback 3.
Yeah, absolutely. Other side of the ball, the Saints. Not much to talk about in the Saints game.
Okay, well, yeah, from the previous Saints game, maybe not, but there is some very big news with the Saints.
Yeah.
And that is,
calm down. I was getting there. No, go.
Taysom Hill named or not named. I don't know if he wasn't named. Taking first team reps, so I'm guessing will
Yeah.
be named the starter if he hasn't already been named at the time of this. I'm sure, assuming he probably will be. But yeah, Taysom Hill is, in my opinion, if you don't have a quarterback, he's the number one pickup. I think he's a top 10 quarterback. Whenever I had him, I dropped him. Now I may pick him back up. Will pick him back up if I can, because I thought it wasn't happening, and yeah, it's happening. So I feel like I love Taysom Hill as a fantasy quarterback. It's kind of like Jalen Hurts. He's maybe not going to
Yeah.
be the best quarterback, which Jalen Hurts very much is not a very good NFL quarterback right now. But fantasy wise, Jalen Hurts is
Yeah.
very good. So
Yeah.
I kind of think that could happen with Taysom. And I'm not going to say Taysom is going to be good or bad, but fantasy, I think he will be really good. So
No, I think you know, if you've watched us, you know how big we are on upside, and I think the upside with Hill could be immense. Like it could be crazy. So super excited to see what happens there. Um and all that. Like, yeah, I would agree with you. I think 10 might be pushing it like right away, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see a really good if we see a couple of really good weeks from him and then he's in that conversation.
yeah, and this is also probably good news for the running attack. I think anytime you have especially a team that wants to run the ball a lot, they don't have great weapons at the wide receiver core. So with Kamara's back, Ingram's back, if these guys are back, which Kamara was limited, Ingram, I think they were close to going on Thursday, so I think there's a good chance they both are going to be back. I'm not sure on that. But
Yeah, that's
they
what I was
they
double
were ruled
checking.
out late, so they were ruled out on Thursday, I believe. So I do think there's a chance they're both back, or one of these guys are back. So those guys, Ingram still has flex value, and Kamara obviously is one of the top running backs in the
Yeah.
game. So
And I think Ingram is almost a guarantee to go this week. And I would say Kamara's probably a likely at
yeah,
this point
so
from what we
I
know.
like Ingram still as a a
Yeah,
later of running back. Obviously, I like him a lot. If Kamara doesn't go, I think
of
he'll be
course.
great. But if he unable to go here, then or if both those guys are going, I still think Ingram is a top 25, top 30 guy, and obviously Kamara is one of the top. So you're
Yep.
playing him.
Well, and if you are playing Ingram this week, I know we call him a flex, but put him in your running back slot. He's playing on Thursday.
That's true.
Leave that flex opportunity. So, uh, next up to start out Sunday, we got Colts Texans. We talked about Wentz had a really nice week. I don't think this affects his where he was. He was right in that kind of, if you're streaming quarterbacks, like he could be a choice, and I think versus the Texans, maybe not a terrible choice. Um, so if you're streaming quarterbacks, might be a really good choice this week. Uh, but other than that, like I don't think he's a week in, week out still. But there will be probably only one quarterback, like one starting quarterback is out on bye this week with Aaron Rodgers. But like if you need to stream a guy, Wentz, this could be a good matchup for him. Taylor continues. I mean, we joked about what are you doing because you're 10, but still just a stud all season. Um, Pittman is not where I think we expected him to be, and what he was for those handful of weeks. I'm still throwing him out there. I think in most leagues, but I'm starting to watch a little bit closer, see if that continues because we're getting into playoff season or like home stretch season for your fantasy league. And if Pittman continues to kind of like if he can't really perform in this game, it might be time to put him in a different category outside the must start.
Yeah, I think he was like pretty much like unanimously like okay he's a top 15 guy, and now it's like maybe a top 20 guy. 10
Yeah.
targets. I still think he's clearly the number one here. So he's
I
still.
think this week you're still putting him out there just be matchup, and he has been. You know, he has that
All right,
ability.
let me paint a picture. Let me throw this out here. Okay, not paint a picture. Let me throw this out here. All right, I
Is it
have
because I said how
no,
good the matchup is like 8
no,
times, and now you're offended?
no. I 100% agree. The Texans are trash. They just lost to the Jets. Okay, I have two wide receivers I'm going to be starting this week. I think maybe three, but probably only two because I think I have three quality running backs. Here's my wide receivers. They're literally like right next to each other in the rankings. I have four of them that are like right next. I have Michael Pittman, Terry McLaurin, DeAndre Hopkins, Tyler Lockett. I have to play two of those. I'm 100% going with McLaurin, even though I don't. We'll probably talk
I
about.
think McLaurin and Pittman are the choices. and I didn't have to think that hard.
The Pittman one, I'm just not sure on. It's against Houston. Like part of me is just thinking
I
this is
I
going to be
understand the hesitation, but
a lot of Jonathan Taylor, and I don't know how much they're actually going to have to throw against him. I'm trying to like predict the game a little bit,
that's fair.
and I feel like there's more upside with the other guys, but I don't know. I feel like they're all really close. I know I'm going to pick wrong, but Scary Terry is probably the only guy that I'm definitely going to go with. So yeah,
I'll give you credit on that. Like, I think McLaurin's a no-brainer in that situation, and I would go Pittman probably, but who knows on Saturday how I'm feeling.
yeah.
Like, I think I'm kinda with you on that.
That's where I'm at right there. But yeah, Pittman, I still think is a top 15, top 20 guy. You probably are starting him unless you're in my spot. You might, there's definitely a chance that you're not. And obviously Taylor, you know, number 10, a little rough, but still pretty good. Pretty good. And Jack Doyle tied in one with 7 targets. I don't
No.
really know what to do with that though.
Nothing. I'm doing absolutely nothing with that information.
Uh,
Like, I'm just nothing with that information.
yeah, so Carson Wentz, I do think is not maybe a top 10 guy, but definitely top 15. You might, you
Like I
might
said, if you need a fill-in, he might be available, and
yeah. So if he was dropped or whatever, like you could very well teams as bye weeks and stuff, you could pick him up. So if you need him, or you may already have him, I think he's a pretty solid play. Not amazing. I don't really think he's going to put up huge numbers against the Texans because I don't think the Texans are going to put up huge. It's not going to be a some crazy light up the scoreboard sort of game. Low upside, but pretty good floor, I think. Then the Texans, they just lost to the Jets. Okay.
that's a bad thing, right?
Tyrod Taylor, I still
Well,
think
not
is
for the draft.
yeah, I still think Tyrod Taylor is a solid fantasy quarterback, borderline top 15 guy. I think you could roll him out there if you wanted to here.
Mhm.
Rex Burkhead got 12 carries, which is interesting. He had 60% of the snaps. Looks like he might
Yeah.
be the guy if you're like instead of David
Crazy
Johnson.
interesting.
Um,
Yeah.
and then
I mean, I don't think you want any part of either one of them, but
Rex Burkhead also had 3 catches. So I guess Burkhead, if you're looking for maybe some upside there, he's probably owned. So if you just need a running back, especially in deep leagues, not a terrible play just because you're getting a running back that's going to be out there and he's involved in the passing game. And it's really Brandon Cooks. I mean, that's for most people, that's
yeah.
Brandon Cooks. Not a great day. He just had the 40-yard touchdown. If you take that off the board, it was a really bad day. But that obviously salvaged it. But great pass by Tyrod, great catch by Cooks on that play. But outside of that, there's really, besides that play, not much positivity behind this Texans team. And I picked them to beat the Titans, the Texans. I said, you know what? I said they're definitely going to cover. I said this. I think they could win this game. This game, they're 9-point underdogs. I think they're going to get blown out. I think this is going to be a 20. I want to say a 30-17 game. So blown out. I guess it's not blown, but over 10 points. Picking the Colts over the Texans.
Yeah, I think Jonathan Taylor is going to go off. I mean, that's not helping anybody because if you have Jonathan Taylor, you're not benching him anyways. But I think Jonathan Taylor is going to go off. Next up, Vikings Lions. Not huge days other than Thielen. Obviously, we talked about him. Was number 3 on the week. Good to see. Jefferson lower than we've come to expect at 25. Still, guys, you're rolling out there without hesitation. Cousins 14. He's still at that back end of that top 10 for me. So I think you're probably still rolling with him if you've been rolling with him. I don't think you're too unhappy with that. Cook going down is obviously bad, but we've seen what Mattison can do, and it's like a couple ticks behind what Cook can do in this offense. So still pretty hyped to see that, and I think you start him without question.
Oh yeah, he's a top he's top 10 for sure. I mean, top 5 maybe. I mean, he's not that far behind Cook. I mean, when he looks really good. So yeah, he's maybe even close to top 5. Jonathan Taylor, Joe Mixon, Austin Eckler, Najee Harris. I think you might have a case for him at number 5. Just the guys around him: Leonard Fournette, Elijah Mitchell, James Conner, Cordero Patterson.
The Leonard Fournette hate is aggressive, but
the hate saying he's not top 5.
Yeah, love Leonard Fournette.
Yeah, he might be 6, he might be 7, but anyways, he's right there. Alexander Mattison. Yeah, you're definitely playing him if he was available, which he probably wasn't. Obviously, should have picked him up.
Check though, because and we're gonna touch on it a little bit later, but I have different leagues where him and Hubbard are both available, have both been dropped. So definitely check.
Yeah, I'm happy that I have him. But yeah, Justin Jefferson, Thielen, obviously you're playing. Those guys are both studs. And yeah, if you've had Kirk Cousins on your team, like I don't see why you wouldn't play him at this point. I mean,
Yeah,
he's
not gonna get
a
away from it
borderline,
now.
he's like basically a borderline top 10 guy. So I mean, you're not gonna find anything better on the waivers probably, besides maybe Taysom Hill. If you want to take a stab, you can pick him up. Maybe roll with Cousins this week, and then you could at least see if if you like Taysom in the future, but for the playoff run. But yeah, roll Cousins out there.
For sure. Lions on the other side of the ball. Golf broke the top 20 this week, but I'm not even gonna pretend to be excited about it. Like I try just to balance you out, but he's irrelevant. Um, Swift going down. We've talked about Williams. Kind of lost his value recently, but obviously with Swift going, I mean, he's a top 15 guy with Swift out. Would you say?
Yeah.
And Hawkinson is a must start tight end. So at this point, Hawkinson and unless you're really stacked at running back, I would say Williams, and you can just ignore the rest of the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, which is not very hard to do. But actually, I will say this real quick. Golf, obviously, not a big fan of. Not a terrible game. I'm gonna say it. Not a
No,
terrible game. All right. Obviously they're not. They've kind of not given him like they're not giving him keys to the car. Right. They're kind of giving him like a scooter, and they're like, all right, this is all you can do. All right. Just basically don't mess up. A lot of dumping off and all this, but 21 of 25, a couple touchdowns, pretty solid. Jamal Williams, assuming Swift doesn't go. I hope Swift doesn't because I don't know. Like we haven't heard if Swift could go. If Swift is out for a week or two, I hope he's not because if he goes but he's banged up, it really makes it really hard to know
it's a
what to
tough
do.
decision. Yeah.
So who to start and how comfortable you are with that. I hope Swift sits for a week or two. As a Swift owner, I have Jamal Williams too. Then you come back healthy and I'll put you back in. All right, Jamal Williams this week, maybe Swift in the future, but yeah, I 100% agree. It's T.J. Hawkinson for receiving options, and you can't really touch anything else.
Yep. Onto another game or another team where it's really one guy, and honestly, that one guy is getting to the point where you don't love. You have to start him, I think, still, but you're not. You're definitely not happy about it, and that's Saquon. Like with the Giants, like I'm also to the point where even when Shepard comes back, I don't think I'm touching him.
Oh yeah, unless
Like
it's a deeper league, I think. If Shepard is,
so, are you still like? Obviously, you could be in a spot where you have a couple of studs and you're not starting Bart, but like I think there's so many people they invested so much in Barkley, and he still has that upside, but like it has not been pretty.
yeah, I mean, there's at least 15 guys I would say this week with 4 teams on bye that I would start over Saquon Barkley. At least 15. When
I
I
would
get
say
past
that's minimum. Yeah.
when I get past 15, I see like David Montgomery, Miles Gaskin, Javonte Williams, Miles Sanders. Maybe there's one guy in there, but that's like 16, 17. He's a top 20 guy. I don't know if he's much better than that. I don't think I'm taking him top 15. So that's how far he's fallen. It's just not working. Obviously he's been banged up. Some of that's, I mean, obviously with injuries, his offense
Well, and
isn't good either.
he's the only threat on that team. Like he hasn't been playing well, and he's still the only threat. So like teams can really zero in on him. So I don't know how much of it is he's not as good as he was, or is it that teams are like, oh, the only thing we have to worry about is stopping Saquon.
It's not good. Saquon saw 87% of snaps, only had 13 carries, 40 yards. Like I just don't see how. I was actually confused on why continually everybody's putting him in the top 10 in their rankings. Like I'm like, how in the world? At this point, I don't think he can even put him in the top 15. So, yeah, but there's a good chance you're still playing him. But man, if I was looking like depending on where you're at, like how comfortable you are with your team, this is a type of player that I might take. I might lat him on my bench and ride with a Miles Gaskin, who's in the we'll talk about here in a second. As I just know that he's going to get more of a workload probably, and I think that there's no chance he'll get like a 0. I know there was one game where he only got one carry or something early in the season, but Myles Gaskin, is going to get you some good amount of work. I just don't know with Saquon. That might be a spot where I might just ride with Gaskin if I had those two to choose from.
I think with that, yeah, there's the risk because Saquon could go off. But if you feel pretty good about your team and you're like, I just need to know that I'm not gonna just lay not a literal goose egg, but like have a terrible game from Saquon. Like, yeah, I would rather have the floor of Gaskin for sure.
Put that Gaskin has been a top 12 running back 3 of the last 4 weeks. So he did have 2 touchdowns in this game. So moving on to the Dolphins, he did have 2 touchdowns in this past game. That does obviously I don't. It's kind of like saying he's a top 12 running back this week. I feel like that's okay. He was 49 yards rushing 2 times of the 16 carries got in the end zone. So it's not really it's not really the same as running for 150 yards and no touchdowns, but it does still count in fantasy. I'm just saying, like, is it repeatable? I'd feel a lot better if he rushed for 150 yards and no touchdowns. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. Even if the points are the same. The big thing with the Dolphins is Tua's fine. We know that if you're, he's one of those middle of the guys, top 15, top 18 guys. If you have to roll him out there, is Jalen Waddle. I mean, this guy is he's insane. I still can't believe how good this receiving class is. It's crazy. 9 for 137 and a touchdown. Saw him do the Waddle dance, the penguin dance, whatever he's doing. That was fantastic as well. So he is quickly.
That's actually how Butler drafts his fantasy team, just based on their dancing abilities.
Quickly becoming, as I'm sure many people, one of my favorite receivers in the NFL to watch. Like he's special.
Oh, for sure.
So he's really good. Unfortunately, Gesicki tight end there, 3 for 17. It's at the point where he's in that road again, but you may you might be looking at matchups or look at stuff and be like, yeah, I might rock with somebody else.
He's in that group we always talk about. Like, there's just that group of tight ends that are all like, sure, if you want to play him, go for it. But like, he went from a guy that you're almost guaranteed to start early in the season to maybe you're throwing him out there. Not a terrible matchup in this one. Could be a decent week to throw him out there, but he's no longer kind of separated himself from that big group of tight ends.
I think
we're hoping to get in the end zone.
Yeah, there's probably 9 or 10 guys that would start over him. Maybe 9 guys. And then he's in so you probably can't find somebody better on the waivers, but you might have already had somebody that you like more, like Freiermuth you might have picked up, along the way. I'd probably start him over him. Like there's some guys that I would probably play over him, but you could have.
Yeah.
Speaking of those guys, can I transition this time? Because on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, there is one of the best tight ends in all of football. It's crazy because how in the world is he still one of the best tight ends in all of football? Rob Gronkowski, 7
That's the
for
player
123.
About on Tampa Bay on how they're still good.
Yeah, I don't understand it. I mean, it just seems like he's defying logic. Rob Gronkowski has been playing for a long time. Has a bunch of rings as well. He's just been really impressive at his age, doing it all. And no matter who the quarterback is, he just finds a way to put up big numbers.
You done? So, obviously, I will start with Gronk though, because we weren't. I don't know. I don't think anybody was like 100% sure when he came back from injury. Was he going to be Gronk? We were already a little surprised this season with how good he was.
Oh yeah.
And now it looks like he hasn't missed a step. Like he's immediately in the upper echelon. Like he's immediately what, 3 or 4? Like on a weekly basis. Like you're still ranking Kelsey ahead of him. I would still. I'm such a Kittle guy, but I don't even know that most people would agree with me on that.
I think there's at least 2, Andrews and Kelsey. Obviously, Andrews. I think I would definitely rank, and then I think I would do Kittle, and then Rob Gronkowski. But
it's like Kittle, Gronk, and then like a little bit behind them Waller. Like, and
Waller's right there too. Yeah, I should because Waller's. I don't want to forget Waller.
But I think Waller's just like a step behind, like a step behind Gronk.
But yeah, Waller, I believe, is going to miss this week. But yeah, and then Hawkinson, I think they've separated themselves. Obviously Kelsey is a tier by himself, but I think there's like a middle, like where they've separated themselves from Hawkinson and Pitts, where you have this second
Yeah.
tier, and Gronk is obviously firmly in that. He has been sensational, but he has a great day. Not much else besides obviously Leonard Fournette, which we've talked about. The wide
Once
receivers
again, the
just.
hate.
How am I hating when I'm saying he did well? I don't even understand this. I don't understand.
You
Um,
just said it was all on Gronk. You give Gronk all
um,
the credit.
but Godwin not great. 5 targets. Evans
Yeah,
only had
it was a
five
bad.
targets.
It was
Like
a
there's
bad
just
week for
not
Godwin
much.
Evans.
And Brady only threw for 200 yards. So and half of his yard, more than half went to Gronk. So obviously it was a Fournette game. They ran it all in. He also got the receiving touchdown. Fournette
Yeah.
did that Brady
Well,
threw.
he
So
also Fournette had 7 catches. Like he ran the ball very well, and they had 7 catches with a
7 of
touchdown.
the
Like
25 that Brady completed.
yeah,
So this was a Fournette game. At the end of the day, you're obviously rocking all your Buccaneers. Fournette is a top 5 running back now. I mean, he's ridiculous. Brady is top quarterback, one of the top quarterbacks. Gronk is a top. Like you have 2 top 10 wide receivers, maybe top 5 wide receiver, a top 5 running back, a top 5 tight end, and a top 5 quarterback. It's just loaded. Unfortunately, though, because of that, you're going to
this
have
will happen.
weeks where some of those guys just won't, have good days.
So the key is you just have all of them on your team because then you make sure you get whichever one hits. Probably not the best strategy, actually. Don't do that. But except for I do have one team where I have Brady, Fournette, and Evans. So luckily Fournette balanced out the other on this one. But they're playing the Falcons. Matt Ryan continues to really not be fantasy relevant. Really good to see Cordero back, right back into the swing of things. Number 4, just continues to be a stud. Gage had a really nice day sitting there at 14, though. We talked about is there going to be a wide receiver that kind of steps up that's going to be relevant. I think in a standard league, there's probably still better options out there for you. But if you're in a pinch at the wide receiver position, Gage, I don't think is a terrible play.
Yeah, I mean, 7 targets here. He's obviously the number 1 wide receiver, so he had the most snaps, tied with Sharp, I guess, for the most snaps. So for wide receivers, yeah. I mean, he's Kyle Pitts, better days, 6 targets. Unfortunately, I know he's had a couple bad weeks, but you still got to roll him out there if you have him.
The talent's there.
Yeah, he's definitely shown he's got some ridiculous talent. And Mike Davis continues to be droppable. He saw 50% of the snaps, had 5 carries. Cordell Patterson is the running back they like, even though he's only Cordell Patterson's on the field the same. Like basically, when he's I'm assuming it's basically when Mike Davis isn't out on the field, they have Cordell Patterson because they line him out obviously mostly at running back. And when he's on the field, Patterson, they give him the ball. Mike Davis on the field, they don't give him the ball. It's like they're both on the field the same amount, but one guy always gets the ball and the other guy never gets the ball. Drop the guy who doesn't get the ball. That is my expert fantasy analysis.
Here's the thing. As soon as Cordero was out and Davis still had no value, you don't need him.
Yeah.
Like there's now no situation where Davis is usable.
You shouldn't own him ever. Like he has no value. Zero. He doesn't have value for an injury. You should have had Alexander Mattison. You should have had
like
Hubbard.
a top 3 week this week just because we said all this.
Yeah. Anyways, I wanted to say real quick, Tampa Bay is 11-point favorite going into Atlanta. I don't have the history of this. I just saw this and I thought, is that like the biggest that they've had going into Atlanta in I don't know how long? Like that just seems like a ridiculous number. I know Atlanta's not great this year. Tampa Bay's good, but like 11-point favorites in Atlanta, that seems like the Daniel Butler special. I'm taking the Atlanta Falcons plus
bad choice.
11.
Don't do that. Don't do that. It's going to be a 3-touchdown game. They're going to win by 3 touchdowns.
Atlanta Falcons plus 11. This is my favorite line that I've seen. I like Atlanta Falcons plus 11.
Remember, I'm a terrible bettor, but I would definitely take Tampa Bay in that situation. So you're probably right.
This is feeling right.
We'll see. Next up, Eagles, Jets. Hurts, bad week for Hurts. No question about it. I'm in no way swayed in his overall value. He's still a guy that you're running out there. The we're going to get to the running back situation in a second, but I think there's a lot to talk about there, so I just want to touch real quick. Devontae Smith, I know he has the upside. Like, I know that's there. I don't know if that's a risk I'm willing to take.
I mean, the problem is you have a quarterback that just is not a good
Isn't great at throwing.
quarterback. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, the question
He's a great
is,
fantasy player, but
yeah, like how much? I don't think he's a top 20 guy for sure. I think because
okay.
of his upside, he's probably a top 25 guy, just because he's got insane upside. But I'm looking at guys like the guys that behind him that are ranked. I'm just looking at the ranks right now. Brandon Cooks, I'd play Brandon Cooks over him. Mike
Yeah.
Williams, I'd play him over him. He's same kind of like big upside, but can
Same
definitely.
thing, but I think I trust him more.
Chase Claypool is kind of Darnell Mooney. I probably play Mooney over him. He's maybe not even top 25. He's close, but either way, like you're obviously hoping for big days when Jalen Hurts has a QBR of 17, has 14 completions for 129 yards. Even if those all went to Devontae Smith, well, okay, he would have a pretty good. Even if they all went to Devontae Smith, that's the crazy thing. Every single pass was caught by Devontae Smith. He has 26.9 points. It's not even wide receiver 1. That's crazy. If he caught every single pass that Jalen Hurts, that's crazy. It's just not value when you have that. I mean, unfortunately. Also, I saw somebody post on Twitter. I apologize, I don't have her name here, but she's been making like she's going through like the NFL team and saying like I don't know, just has a funny perspective on it. And she said, "Wow, the Eagles they drafted Nelson Aguilar twice because they drafted Jalen Reagor, and he has about the same hands that Nelson Aguilar has."
I don't know why we got to bash on Jalen Reagor. We're a very pro Jalen Reagor podcast. Like, don't have him on your team, but as a person, I'm
like,
very
you know
pro
what? That's
Jalen
so.
Reagor.
Who does Jason Reagor remind you of? It literally is Nelson Aguilar.
Also, I saw that, and while it hurt me emotionally, she's not wrong.
Okay.
Yeah. But so let's talk about this running back situation.
Let's do it.
I think you found that way more interesting than I did, but I don't want anything. And I'm a Miles Sanders guy. I don't think I want any of it.
I mean, he only saw a third of the snaps. It's kind of like
I know. Sanders. I don't like. I don't think I want any of them. Like, I know Boston Scott had a decent game. I don't want any of it.
I will say, just because that's not really helpful to say don't ever play these guys, I'm going to say they're both top 30
I think that's
guys.
extraordinarily helpful.
Oh, you're just going to say no matter what. Don't matter. Just don't play them. Figure out a way not to play them.
Yes, figure out a way to not play them.
I'm going to say they're both top 30 guys. Still Miles Sanders over him. But I don't feel great about that. I mean, Boston Scott outsnapped him in this game. So I'm going to say they're, top 30 guys. But, like...
I think that's generous.
Okay. But I'm gonna go with that, and I'm sticking to it. Boston Scott actually was top 20 this week thanks to his touchdown. He averaged 4 yards a carry. Not bad. Boston Scott, if Miles Sanders had a better day, you would not be speaking like it's because the Eagles and the quarterback situation is so bad that it obviously hurt them. Boston Scott was 15 to 64 and a touchdown, number 19 running back. I don't know why you're hating on Boston Scott. Now, when it comes to Miles Sanders, not great. 9 for 64 obviously isn't bad, but why are you only seeing 33% of the snaps?
No, I think Sanders is don't get me wrong. I think and this is a big change because I've been a Sanders guy the whole time. I think if I had to start one right now, it would be Scott. I almost think there's no question. Like, I think Sanders still has some upside, but I think that upside is taken away from the quarterback play. Like, Sanders' upside is a lot in the passing game, and the quarterback play is hurting that. So I don't want any part of that, but if you told me I had to play one, it's Scott.
All right. Well, I disagree, but I think they're both. I agree that I don't like it. I like. There's a lot of like duo running back situations, and this is one of my least favorite ones. I will agree with that, but I still think they're top 30. Both of them are top 30,
and I think that's generous.
With Miles Sanders being ahead of Boston Scott.
No. Other side of that ball, the Jets
coming off a win.
Well, that's what happens.
Can I just chime in real quick on this game before whatever you go with here? You told me, I'm gonna pat you on the back here. You told me last week that Zach Wilson. I said, you know what? we've seen some. We saw White, we saw Flacco actually be decent in this offense, and I'm like, you know what? I think that things might have changed. I think Zach Wilson's gonna be better. He's maybe like forced him, maybe a little bit of competition. I don't know. I think he's gonna be better. He was not better. He was
Oh,
not.
shocker.
Zach Wilson was not good.
Oh no, who could have seen it coming? Like Zach Wilson's terrible. Like I don't know what to tell you. I don't know why you thought it was going to get better.
I just thought with how well it seemed like White played when he was in there, and then we saw some goods, and they were playing the Texans, so I'm like, okay, this could be good. And Flacco looks solid. I'm like, all right, Zach Wilson, yeah, I think he's gonna be better than what he was. He's currently on a points per game basis went a quarterback 43.
Yeah, he's terrible.
Quarterback 24 for this week though, so he kind of.
I mean, I appreciate you admitting that I was correct, but other than that, I don't know what to tell you. He's not good at football. Like he's just not good at football. I know it's hard to say because he's in the NFL, so he's obviously better than most people at football. But as far as the NFL goes, he's not good at football.
We were also wrong. We were both wrong. Tevin Coleman was the guy to play there. 16 carries to 6 for Ty Johnson. But I mean, snap counts were. I mean, Tevin Coleman was the guy, was more involved. So we knew it was kind of a question. Like we're not sure. I'm still not sure going in next week. I guess now I'm going Coleman just because of now what we saw. We have more information, but I would not be surprised if the rules change. And it's Ty Johnson.
But here's my thing: is I think both of them have the like absolute upside of like 25. Like, is that like their top end? Like,
I would say Ty Johnson just because we saw it earlier with Zach Wilson though,
there's no quarterback. A lot of his value is passing game.
Yeah, it really is passing game. So, I mean, if they dump the ball off a lot, if they're like, you know what, we need to get the running backs more involved, you never know what the game plans. Maybe they will.
You think Zach Wilson can dump it off? He can't handle that.
If he does do that, I think that we'll see, probably, a solid game. But yeah, both these guys are basically coin flips on who's going to be the better guy. And I guess I'll go Coleman a little bit higher just because we just saw it. But we're really relying, if we want them to be a top 15 guy, we're relying on them getting probably 6 or 7 catches. And they're both, I don't know which one is more likely to do that. And they might even split it.
I feel like Ty Johnson is, but I also don't know that Zach Wilson's capable of throwing the ball 7 times successfully to a running back. I will say this, with Wilson at quarterback, still has great upside, but I would understand if you wanted to start other people ahead of him.
Yeah, I think he's got big upside. He's a very talented receiver, but there's some like a guy that I kind of think he would be comparing to that I think is interesting is Darnell Mooney. I would rather go Darnell Mooney, but I think that's really close. That's kind of where I'm at with it. Like I think that's fair. They're kind of there. Chase Claypool maybe as well. There's a few guys that I'm kind of like in that mix, and I'm like, I like the upside there of Mooney, and
I would probably start both of those guys, but I think that's the right ballpark.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, and I think Corey Davis at this point, like I know he's hurt. I can't remember when he's coming back, but I'm not.
I mean, he doesn't have top 30 upside, top 25
with Wilson at quarterback. I'm not going near it. So, next up we have the Cards and the Bears. Coming off a bye week. I believe, Kyler should be good to go. So we're good on that. We've seen the running back. So Kyler, Connor, both guys are starting. Hopkins, we talked about him earlier in your decision that you had to make. Like that kind of shows you what ballpark he's in. Like I think for a decent amount of teams, he'd still be like a number 3 wide receiver, flex territory. But that is kind of where he is. Like, he still has crazy upside, and I think if we see, I think we need one good game from him for him to be right back in the mix for like top 15, top 10, like in that range guy.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna put him in the top 15. I'm just gonna tell you what I'm leaning. I'm leaning Hopkins and McLaurin this upcoming week, assuming Hopkins. It's really just like I have no idea.
No, I get it.
I think just again, I'm trying to predict kind of how the games go, and I think I like Hopkins here, but I don't know. It's not
I just
like,
want to see one out of him.
yeah.
Um,
Unfortunately, I got to make all the right decisions. We're in dire straits right now. We got to win every game. I know I'm going to make the wrong decision. I just want to make the right one. I don't know. But yeah, this is tough. I think Hopkins still, I think, could have a really good end of the year. I mean, he's obviously one of the best wide receivers in all of football, so I'm
I
not
hope
saying
so.
anything
I
crazy.
do hope so.
He could obviously go off for the last few weeks, but yeah, Kyler obviously are rolling out there. Connor, top five, top 10 running back, and then Hopkins is the number one guy, top 15, maybe top 20. I'm gonna say top 15. I think a lot of people might say top 20, but
Yeah.
that's kind of where I'm at. And then nobody else, I guess. Kirk and AJ Green, maybe
Kirk
deeper
Kirk
leagues.
is a maybe, like in a deeper league. I think Ertz is right in that group that we always talk about of tight ends, where you could definitely make a worse choice if you're sliding tight ends in and out.
Yeah, I like her. I like Ertz a lot. I think he had the big upside. I'd rather play him over Gesicki for the Dolphins. I just think the upside there for Ertz is so much. Now, again, it depends on your situation. I think Ertz is a little bit riskier just because of the offense. There's a lot of
Yeah,
weapons. They might run the ball a lot more, but I do like Ertz a lot. I think he could have a nice day here.
yeah,
No
definitely.
surprise, given that last time we seen him, he was tight end one. So
Yeah, we're not going out on a huge limb there that he has decent upside. On the Bears side, um, Montgomery, and we've talked about it at nauseum where Mooney fits. He just keeps coming up this episode. Um, Mooney in that like consideration category. Montgomery, you're probably still rocking with him. I mean, he's been mid 20s the last couple weeks. That's probably what you're getting. Like you're hoping he cracks the top 20. Um, but other than that, I mean, that's what you're getting from the Bears. I think Mooney is in that category. We've been talking about great upside, but also, I mean, he's been pretty good the last few weeks they've played. So maybe a little more solid than maybe we think. But Mooney's in that consideration with the Pittmans and those kind of guys, and uh, Montgomery is what he is.
yeah, Mooney. I think he's like probably for me a little bit lower, borderline top 20 guy. But
Yeah,
yeah, he's been great the last 3 weeks. If he got in the end zone this week, I think he would have been a top five guy. So he had a
yeah,
nice day, 5 for 123 in the last. He was wide receiver 5 in week 9, wide receiver bye, and then a bye in week 10, and then week 11, wide receiver 4, wide receiver 15 this past week. So yeah, he's been great. Montgomery, I'm wondering Montgomery or Saquon Barkley. If you were in that spot, which one? Because I think that's
Montgomery.
you think Montgomery. I think
Yeah,
that's kind of like Montgomery is probably like my running back 15 or 16 this week. So that would move Barkley down. I think even a spot there. I'm thinking Montgomery as well. That's kind of how far I'm kind of low on Barkley as well. Cole Kmet, another list of many tight ends. If you want to throw a dart at a tight end. I've talked about him. I think he could have a really solid end of the year. He obviously didn't in week 11, but 2 of the last 3 weeks he's been a top 7 tight end. So last week was not, but week 10 was their bye, but 2 of the last 3 weeks they played, he's top 7.
yeah. And I will say, like the small sample size we have of Dalton as the guy, Mooney seems to be a guy he really likes to throw to. So that could be a selling point for Mooney on that front. Chargers Bengals up next. Um, a team full of 3 studs. Herbert, Eckler, Allen, no question on any of those. We've talked about Mike Williams a ton. Huge upside, but also a very low floor. Was 50 this week. He's been 45, 46, 78, but he's snuck a 10 in there earlier in the season. He had some ones. I think he was the number 2 wide receiver for a while on a per game basis early in the season. So huge upside, but you know what you're risking if you put him out there. And then I think I think he's outside of that group we talk about. Like I know he finished 13, and if you want to take the chance on him, go for it. But there's a plethora of guys I would rather start over Cook.
Yeah, he just had a touchdown. I mean, really, that's what I mean. If you have a touchdown, you're basically going to be top 15. So,
Yeah,
you can't really look too when he only had 2 catches for 25 yards. But yeah, Herbert top 5 quarterback, Eckler top 5 running back, Keenan Allen top 10 wide receiver probably in PPR especially. Really liking Keenan Allen. I know he didn't get in the end zone this week, but I'm a big fan. Yeah,
Yeah.
like what you said, Mike Williams is that borderline. I think he's a step below those guys we've been talking. Probably, I think he's a step below. I think I mentioned Mooney. I definitely
Just
start Mooney
because how
over him.
low his floor is,
Yeah.
his floor is so low.
But like all the guys that I was debating for wide receivers, I
Yeah.
would definitely rank him below him. Mike Williams, that is. So I like Mike Williams. I think he is obviously very explosive wide receiver. And one thing I was thinking with this game is, when I saw this game, I'm like, this feels like it's going to be a high scoring game. Of course, it probably won't be because I'm thinking it. So I was looking, I'm like, the over under in this game is 50.5, which is the highest of all the games this week. So Vegas has this as tied. It's tied with the Buccaneers and Falcons. So they're expecting this to be a high scoring game. And when I first saw these teams playing, I'm like, I like both these offenses. I hope it is a high scoring game. So I haven't looked at who I'm facing this week. Maybe I don't. I'm actually not sure if I want it to be a high scoring game. I haven't
I
decided
hope
yet.
you're
But
just facing everybody.
I do have Keenan Allen in the league. I do have Joe Mixon in the league. I have Jamar Chase. So it's there are some guys that I definitely want to do well, but yeah, this feels like it's going to be a high scoring game to me.
Agreed. On the other side of that game, with the Bengals, Mixon obviously had a great game. He's just been on a tear. I mean, since week 6, he had week 7, I think it was 24, but week 6, 3, week 8, 2, week 9, 4, bye week 11, 4, week 12, 2, just on a tear. Higgins had a really nice day. Chase did not do what we've expected from him. I'm not off Chase in any way, shape, or form. I'm still all in. You like to see this from Higgins, but he was also 78 last week, so like he's got that floor. But Mixon is obviously a stud. Chase, you're starting in every league. Higgins is probably 25-ish. I never pull up the rankings look, but I'd say 25 to 30, probably somewhere in that range, maybe a little bit higher depending. But yeah, and Burrow had a nice day, and I think he's good enough where you're not worried about everybody else on the team. But I'm still, unless you're in a deep league, I don't think I'm going anywhere near him.
Yeah, right. PPR, I have him listed right here as wide receiver 20.
Okay.
And Jamar Chase, 4 straight weeks of not really much. Obviously, before that, he was really good. Obviously, I'm not. He only had 3 targets in this game. I don't want to say I'm not concerned. I think as the as the Bengals offense looks very good. Obviously, we threw Joe Mixon. Burrow only threw it 24 times. Higgins, as he is having a game like this, that is going to take some from Chase. And Higgins wasn't really doing a whole lot when Chase was going off. So I think as the offense has evolved and the Bengals are looking good, I do think that takes a little bit of value away from Chase as Burrow's getting more comfortable with everybody. So I'm not sure with Chase. I'm a little bit lower than I was earlier in the year, but obviously you're still rolling him out there. He's a top 10
Yeah,
guy. And Mixon is a
I
top
think I think that's fair. Yeah,
3
to
guy.
be a
Yeah,
little bit
you
lower.
mentioned how he's not like it's almost seemed like it's been quiet until this week because but like he's been so good. I think Jonathan Taylor is like everybody is talking about Jonathan Taylor. So Joe Mixon is just kind of coming along and just
Yeah,
he's not been quite as good as Taylor, but he's still been really really good. So I mean he was fantastic really since week 6 that we have up here. So yeah, he's been insane and I think Higgins. I really like Higgins. I think with this though, you're kind of. I feel like there's a good chance that something like this will happen with Higgins or with Chase at any given moment, and Boyd could even get his sometimes. That this could happen, but I don't think it will happen this time. I think this is going to be I think it's going to be a high scoring game. So I think Higgins will get his. I think Chase, and it will just come down to who gets the touchdowns. And for that, I don't know. That's always like hopefully Chase
why don't
catches
you
a long
know?
touchdown.
Why can't you tell me?
I'm hoping Chase catches a long touchdown. That's kind of what I'm hoping, but we'll see.
Oh, I'm absolutely hoping for that. All right, Jags Rams up next. Like you said, nice to see Lawrence have a decent game. Didn't really translate to much for anybody else. Um, I am. I mean, I think it continue. I know you like Marvin Jones and you like his talent, but continues like we say every week. It's Robinson, and that's where it stops.
Yeah, I don't think any of these wide receivers. Treadwell actually was the number one receiver with 4 for 53 in this game with 8 targets. So yeah, I mean, Tavon Austin got in the end zone, which was cool to see. Another Tavon sighting. Randomly we get those, but yeah, It's Robinson. Trevor Lawrence, it was a solid fantasy day, but this was a pretty not great week for quarterbacks, so it's not really. I mean, I think he had like 17
No. points,
so it's like not gonna win you weeks. You're like if you had to play him, you're like, oh cool, I got 17 out of him, but you're not playing him. Like he is
Yeah.
17 points on, and he played what I think the Falcons, which is obviously not a great team. So yeah, I'm all in on not all in, but I'm a big fan of James Robinson, top 15 guy. But outside of that, and I believe Dan Arnold went on IR. He got injured in this game, so there was value there. I like Dan Arnold, but it's gone.
Yeah. A team where there is a ton of value, kind of the
Yes.
exact opposite. With the Rams, Stafford was 4 this week. Obviously, a must start every week. Firmly in that top 10. Henderson, right where he's been all season, sitting there at 14. Cup is awesome. He's 10. Honestly, a bunch of wide receivers really good in this game with Jefferson and Odell. I don't know what to think about Odell. I don't know if this game is what's going to continue to happen. I don't know. Where do you stand on him? Because I'm so torn on this.
Okay, so I was looking at the rankings, and Van Jefferson and Odell are basically like almost interchangeable. They're really like they're both like borderline top 30, and Cooper Cup is obviously one. I can't, if you find a website where Cooper Cup isn't one, I don't even. You just throw away.
Stop looking at that website.
Shut them down. Like we got to figure out something. They should not allow to be posting. I'm a big fan of the First Amendment, but you should not allowed to be posting that on the internet. All right. Anyways, I'm gonna say this, and even though I've been low on Odell, I feel like that seems low to me. I feel like when you're on this is the thing I like about the Rams. We talk about this a lot. I talk about this all the time. 3 wide receivers, they run them, and guess what? Odell is now he was on the field every single snap, but I think one Van Jefferson as well. So they're on the field every single play. And I think the only reason he wasn't Akers got a snap. I think Blatton, backup tight end, got a snap as well. But they're on the field every single play. And an offense that passes 65% of the time. If you're passing a lot and you're on the field a lot, you can't score points when you're on the sideline. So Odell's out there. Cooper Kupp's not going to get all the looks. He's going to get a lot. He's going to get his. But I don't know. I think these guys are. I think Cooper Kupp is one. Van Jefferson and Odell. The problem is I don't know which one's going to go off. This week they all had good days. But Cooper Kupp, I guess, had a down day for him. But Odell, Van Jefferson, I think are both borderline. I won't say top 20. I want to say top 23 wide receivers. Okay, top 25. But they're both top 25, I think. I saw 30, 32-ish somewhere in there. I think they're definitely above that, and I think you could make the case that these guys have some of the best upside of any guys in those range because this offense is going to pass a lot.
No, I think that's fair. I don't know. I want to trust Odell, and if he gives me another week like this, like I'm gonna have no choice. I don't know. I think Jefferson has worked his way into that top, like just outside the top 20, 25, somewhere in that range. I still don't know that I trust it with Odell, so I'd be a little bit lower on him. Like I think there's a bigger distinction than it sounds like you do. I think there's a bigger distinction between Jefferson and Odell, but here's the thing: we're one more. If this happens one more time, and like you said, they're on the field all the time. Woods going out did wonders for these, but like you also have to look at it like when Woods was there, Jefferson had some value, but not like crazy. So, do we really think that all 3 guys are going to have value in this offense? And I don't see it. And I think if somebody's going to take the Woods spot, I think it's going to be Van Jefferson.
So I'll push back a little bit. I think the difference between Robert Woods and Van Jefferson at the especially early in the year is pretty wide.
Yeah.
At this point, the difference between Cooper Kupp is Cooper Kupp. The difference between the 2 and 3, Van Jefferson. I really like Van Jefferson and Odell, though. I personally think Van Jefferson's a better wide receiver right now. I know I got some pushback on that by some people, but I personally think he's a better wide receiver right now than Odell Beckham. I think you might say that as well. But but the difference between those two is not, I don't think, nearly as much as Woods. So
That's
I
fair.
think the offense probably gets spread out a lot more, not just Woods. And Woods was really starting to come on. He was a wide receiver 19, I think. Right now, I have him listed as really starting to come
No.
on though. At closer to, he was really starting to seem like, and he was. I mean, he did everything on the field. They're obviously missing him, I'm sure.
Oh,
Uh,
I'm sure.
but yeah, that's kind of what I
Yeah.
think with that. We'll see.
Yeah. I think, like I said, I think that there's definitely some value to be had between Jefferson and Odell, and if I had to bet on one of them, I personally think it's gonna be Jefferson, and then Odell I think will have some value, um, kind of lower in the 20s, but it's so tough to say right now. I mean, it's 1 week. It's 1 week where they both really perform. Because here's the thing: Woods was out in week 10 too, and neither one of them performed very well. So it's really hard to know if it was this game. So I'm excited to see what happens in week 13 and see if we have any indication.
And I will say this is a 4 o'clock game, 4:05. If you feel like you're like it has you at a 10% chance to win or something, this is the time where I think I would take out one of your top. Say you have like a Michael Pittman or something, or maybe
Yeah,
Pittman's or Tyler Lockett or somebody. I know that they've shown that they do have upside. I might slide them out for Van Jefferson Odell if I need something big because I think they have the
massive upside.
very high upside. Maybe I'm
I
wrong
think
there,
that's
but
I think that's
it's
interesting.
a
I don't know
four
that I'd
o'clock
have
game.
the sack to do it, but I think it's interesting. Uh Next up, Washington football team and the Raiders. Uh you want to talk about Washington? I know they uh broke your heart a little bit.
Yeah, they really did. I still, McLaurin is still a stud, big fan. Um, Gibson, man, they ran it almost 30 times with Gibson. The only downside to Gibson is, and he looked good. He only averaged 4 yards carry, but still looked good. He was involved in the passing game too, had 7 catches. Is that McKissick got the 2 touchdowns, but obviously McKissick and Gibson. I don't think you can complain too much when you're running back 5, but he could have had a much bigger day
Yeah.
if he got one of those touchdowns. But yeah, I mean Gibson is a must start. McKissick's kind of interesting. Had the 5 catches, also got the receiving touchdown in there as well as 7 carries. So I think, yeah, I mean Gibson. This is what you kind of wanted going into the playoffs. You get a heavy workload. You're feeling good about it. You're like, okay, I need you to tell me that I'm supposed to be playing you right now because he was
Mhm.
currently he is even after this week running back 21. So he jumped up a few spots. He like show me that you're supposed to be in my lineup. He's like, here you go. All right, let's go make a playoff run. Gibson's thinking about you, so go ahead and slide him back in. If you took him out for a week, if you had better options, I don't think you can keep him out now. At least after a week
Yeah.
like this, 29
I
carries.
think we were kind of agreed that you were probably not pulling him anyways, but I think at this point, McLaurin is still. If you're not starting McLaurin, congratulations on your wide receivers because you've got some studs. And Logan Thomas finally back. Not a great day. 23. Still think he has the chance to be um, in that mix at kind of the lower end of the guys you start every week.
Yeah, I think he's a top 12-ish tight end, and there's like 9 to 12 or 8 to 12 guy like between ranked 8 to 12, and he's in there that
Mhm.
he could slide into the must start, and he kind of goes back and maybe does or maybe he's at the
Yeah,
tail end
yeah,
or maybe like but there's definitely a difference between Logan Thomas and Tyler Conklin or
yeah.
Tyler Higbee. I don't know why I'm
I'm
going
in.
after the Tylers, but
Yeah,
or Hunter Henry, Cole Kmet. I would definitely take Logan Thomas over them until he proves. I mean, this week wasn't great, but I think
yeah.
better weeks. I still
I'm
think.
in a league where I've been kind of just swapping tight ends in and out all season, and Logan Thomas was available a couple weeks ago. I actually picked him up a couple weeks ago in anticipation of it coming back, and at this point, I'm just gonna roll with him. Like I think he's a better option than playing the tight end game every week.
He only got 79% of the snaps, and I say only because Seals Jones was getting 100% when he was in there. So Logan Thomas, I do expect. I know it's still a lot, but I do think maybe that was because of him coming back. He might
Yeah,
even get up to more snaps. That might be a target or two more. He had 6 targets in this game. If he's getting 7, 8 targets a game, 3 for 31 seems like the absolute floor. So
yeah.
I still think, yeah, Taylor Heineke has shown that he likes to throw to his tight ends when Seals Jones was in there and Logan Thomas. So I think much better days ahead.
Yeah, agreed. All right, Raiders. Really nice day, almost across the board for the Raiders. Even Carr had a nice day. I can say it. Still not a guy that I'm going anywhere near, and I don't think unless you're in a deep league, you are either. Um, Jacobs had a nice day at 11, kind of where he's been most of the season, which was nice. Because after week 10 and week 11, he was a little bit lower than that, so nice to see him get at least flirting with that top 10. And then Renfro had a nice day. We've been talking about him. He's proven that he's going to be really the guy you're watching in this offense, wide receiver wise. And I'm happy for Deshaun Jackson, but this doesn't change the fact that I'm going nowhere near him.
Yeah, this is to me the Deshaun. It's the same role as probably he was in the Rams. Like he'll have some big days, but he had that obviously a long touchdown. But I don't see this probably happening again. It's good chances his best game. Maybe not though. He just see half the snaps, 50% of snaps in Los Angeles. He was only seeing like 20%, 30%. So maybe he'll have a bigger role. It seems like in Vegas. So that's, I guess, good. We'll see what happens, but obviously I don't think you're playing him. Hunter Renfrow was great in this game, top 25 PPR option. Really like him, especially in points per reception. Darren Waller goes out. He's gonna miss this game. I will say this:
day-to-day, yeah.
Foster Moreau, he only had 1 catch for 3 yards. Shined in the preseason. The 1 week that Waller missed, I believe early in the season, he had a really nice day. I'm just going off of memory. I don't have that, but I do think Foster Moreau is kind of interesting. Another guy is going to be available, that kind of high upside that you can't just like Cole Kmet or Tyler Conklin don't really have that. You're just hoping they get a touchdown or two. I think Foster Moreau could legitimately get 6-7 catches, which you don't find that usually at tight end. Just randomly on the way.
I don't know that I fully agree with that. And the only reason I say that is because I'm going to use one of your arguments against you. He was on the field 89% of this game and had 1 catch. Like, the upside might be there, but I think I probably am taking a chance on one of those other guys. And if I'm wrong on Foster, I'm wrong. Like, I don't know. I don't fully see it.
Yeah, week 7 against Philadelphia, he had 6 for 60 and a touchdown. So that's the game I was thinking of when Waller was out. Obviously in this game he didn't. So I just think it's a team that obviously Waller is.
You're putting him in that group where you're. If you're in that group anyways, you're taking a shot.
I'm just saying he's going to be ranked, I think, by a lot of people below those guys, and I personally think
sure.
I would put him over him because I just think the upside is more. I mean, sure, he could give you 1 point or two, a couple points. He might give you nothing, but I do think he has a better chance of giving you 12, 13, 15 points. So yeah, I'm going with that.
All right. Ravens, Steelers. Not a great day for Lamar. I can't imagine this changes anybody's opinion on him. Freeman didn't look great in the running game. At the same time, you kind of know with Freeman, like, he could give you a great game. He had a couple of top 10 performances, but he's been in the 30s, and I don't know. I can't say that you're like crazy disappointed because you knew this was a chance. Like, you knew there was a chance for this. Andrews is a stud. Hollywood, not his best game. Coming off week 11, so I think I'm still not worried about him. Like, you're comfortably starting Jackson and Hollywood and Andrews, and you kind of hope you're in a position where you don't have to start Freeman.
Yeah, Freeman's probably like top 30 running back, so you kind of got to go with that. I mean, work with that if you have to. But
yeah, exactly.
But yeah, Bateman is 4 targets here, 4 for 31. You like to see a little bit more there, but really, this game was, to me, a lot of this is a throwaway game. It was really ugly. I don't think this is representative of the Baltimore offense. Cleveland defense played really well. It was not a good Sunday Night Football game, one of the worst. It was just terribly played. The offenses were brutal on both sides. But yeah, Lamar Jackson, not a good day. And he had almost 70 yards rushing and still was quarterback 25. So that just tells you how bad the passing was for him, throwing 4 picks. Mark Andrews, top 3 tight end. Hollywood Brown, top 10, top 15 wide receiver. So he's still really good. Not much else. I do want to mention, because Cleveland's on a bye, we'll talk about him next week. But I just want to mention how really disappointed I was, because when I talk about it, but this is a good time to talk about, because with the Cleveland offense. What the heck are they doing? Nick
Yeah,
Chubb,
it's
Kareem
not.
Hunt, you have the best duo of running backs in the entire football, all of the NFL, and you run the ball, I want to say, like, I don't know, 10 times in the second half. You're in a one possession game. Like, I have no idea. But Kevin Stefanski
I
is
actually think coming off the bye, they're going to get their heads back,
Baker Mayfield needs to get
it's going to go
healthy.
back to it.
I think that's a big part of it. But yeah, hopefully out of the bye for Cleveland's sake, they come back much better. They'll play Baltimore again off the bye. So Baltimore gets Pittsburgh, and then they play Cleveland again. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Speaking of Pittsburgh, irrelevant at quarterback fantasy wise, really does not look great. A really bad day for Harris, but it happens. Remember when we were like debating if it was going to be Johnson or Claypool, and we weren't 100% sure. I will give us credit. I think we both said we thought it was going to be Johnson.
Yeah,
but we weren't 100% sure on that. So Johnson has proven to be the guy for the Steelers. A nice 11-day. Claypool right outside that top 30, kind of where you expect him to be, low 20s into the 30s, somewhere in there. And Freiermuth, another top 10 day, holds his spot in that tier where you justifiably could be starting him every week if you don't have one of the studs.
yeah, I think that's fair. Harris, better days ahead, top 5 guy probably
Yeah.
this week. So Deontay Johnson, top 10 guy. Right? So he's Deontay Johnson, borderline top 10. So yeah, Claypool is one of those guys we've talked about before in that mix, like top 25 guy. So
Yeah.
3 for 82. I mean, 8 targets here. Deontay Johnson had 14 targets, which is crazy. But then outside of that, there is absolutely nothing. Not even deep leagues. I don't think you can touch anybody beyond those guys. So
No.
there's nothing. Ben would only be interesting in 2 quarterback leagues, I guess. But even then, it's not. You would hope that he's not your second quarterback.
2 quarterbacks, 16 team leagues.
Yeah.
And so next up we have Niners, Seahawks. Quarterback irrelevant, fantasy wise. Elijah Mitchell, great day. We weren't 100% sure we were going to see him. Glad we did. Not only did we see him, I mean, obviously played extraordinarily well. So, yes, probably his best game of the season, but not like crazy out of the realm. Like, he's got that top 10 potential. He's probably, if ranking wise, if not in the top 10 on a certain week, just outside of it. Continues to be a guy you just roll with without hesitation. Deebo Samuel, it looks like he could be out. I can't remember if they said officially or not, but he could be out a week or two. Usually when they say he could be out a week or two, you feel pretty confident it's probably not going to be this week that he'll be back. And which leaves an opening for Ayuk, who already has had a couple good weeks the last 4, so he could probably bump himself up a few spots. And honestly, Kittle had a very bad game this week. Like 39, very terrible. We talked about it. I still think he's probably the number 3 tight end on a week-to-week basis ranking-wise. But I think if Samuel doesn't play, I think that gives Kittle even more opportunity to catch the ball.
Yeah, I mean, Kittle's top 5 guy. I think there's obviously Kelsey, Andrews, Kittle, Waller, Gronkowski.
Yeah.
Besides Kelsey and Andrews, I think Kelsey and Andrews are Kelsey 1, Andrews is 2. I think 3 through 5, you can kind of make a case for any of those guys. But obviously not a great day here for. I think it would be for me. It would be Waller, Gronk, Kittle, probably 5. Man, they're all good. They're all good.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I'm a big
bad
Kittle
day.
guy. So.
Bad day for Kittle. But I will say with Deebo going out, I do think that helped obviously Elijah Mitchell because Deebo runs a lot too. It also helps that with him going down. But obviously Deebo's insane. Elijah Mitchell still has great value even if Deebo is in there. But Deebo had 2 rushing touchdowns in this game. So hopefully he gets back just for the 49ers sake and just watching him. He's fantastic. Elijah Mitchell, top 10 running back. Deebo Samuel is top 5 wide receiver when he's out there. And Ayuk's kind of interesting as like a top 25, top 30 guy. Like he's been really coming around. I mean, since a really rough beginning of the season. So definitely. And outside of that, and Kittle is again nothing else.
Yeah. Seahawks. Russell cracked in the top 10. Like to see that. Not much in the way of the running game. We kind of talked about this once Carson went down, and Collins had like a good game, but he really hasn't done much with the opportunity. Um, let's talk a wide receiver real quick. It's I mean Lockett cracked the top 30, which we shouldn't be happy about, but after some of the weeks he's had, you're not. What are you doing with Metcalf at this point?
I mean, again, he's
52, 54, 91.
yeah. This is obviously not a good day. I have like Russell, like fantasy wise, he kind of saved it at the end there with a touchdown at the end, but
Yeah, yeah.
not a great day. 15
No.
points on offense. They got beat, but the defense it only lost 17. They lost 17-15. Yeah, this was just not a good day by Russell. He hasn't been good since coming back. So that hurts. I thought it would be an uptick when without Geno, going to Russell. Don't think that was the case for whatever reason.
No.
But yeah, Lockett and Metcalf both. I do think after this game you probably rank Lockett maybe above him. I mean, DK has been above him the whole year, but I think at this point you probably put Lockett. Not that Lockett's been great, but I'd probably put Lockett a couple spots ahead of him. But both these guys are top 20-ish. But man,
I think that's
you don't think so with
no. I'd say maybe like I'd say Lockett in the like early 20s and Metcalf in the late 20s, maybe.
I
I mean,
still
52,
think
54, 91.
yeah, but Metcalf is still wide receiver 23 on the season, even with all that bad. Like he just has crazy upside.
He does have great upside, no question.
The fact is that yes, the last 3 weeks have been bad, especially for Metcalf. Not great for Lockett, but Lockett's wide receiver 29 on points per game. Metcalf 23. I think with 4 teams on a bye, I do think they both crack top 20 for me. But
Yeah, I forgot the four teams. I think Lockett could.
It's not great, and you're not feeling great about it. I personally am going to steer away from Lockett. I think he's the 4. So I have, I talked McLaurin
In that
Pittman,
group, I think that's the
Hopkins,
one you can't
Lockett,
think about.
and I think Lockett is
give you that.
close, but he's the 4th man.
Yes.
In that, and early in the season, obviously that would have been ridiculous. Lockett was insane. I'm like, oh my goodness, I got such a steal. He's incredible. He has, yeah, and I don't really know how much is his fault. Russell is not good. I don't know what's going on, but he's just not good. Lockett saw all the snaps. Metcalf almost all the snaps as well. So they're always on the field. But why did Metcalf only have 4 targets? I don't think he got targeted one time in the first half. This is like, I am so confused on what's happening in Seattle.
Yeah.
This is not a good football team. Russell right now is not a good quarterback. And it stinks because they have 2 of the best wide receivers in all of football. But I don't know what you're supposed to do with them fantasy-wise.
Yeah.
And running backs was a complete mess. DJ Dallas actually got 60% of the snaps. So deep league, I guess, if you're looking for a guy who's on the field, but yeah, you don't like it. Obviously, you're Alex Collins. If you're like, oh yeah, he's a starting running back, you can't even start him because of it's more about Alex Collins, I think, than DJ Dallas and what not to do with Alex Collins now.
Yeah. Next up, Broncos Chiefs. I almost said last up. There's one game after this. Broncos Chiefs. Another like decent day from Bridgewater. Like to see it. We talked about it. We weren't 100% sure which running back it was going to be. The touchdown put Williams over, but Gordon actually had more touches, more yards. Just Williams touchdown and his work in the passing game put him over the top. And honestly, the wide receivers continue to be where they are. Like they're very talented, and I think they have some reasonable upside, but they're not going to be ranked in a position, or should they be, where I think you want to start them unless you're in a deep league.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's probably Judy, Sutton, Patrick, but like if you were ranking the 3 of them, but
yes,
I don't even know if any of them cracked the top 30 this week. And Judy would be the guy who maybe, again, I love his. I mean, I like all these guys. I think they're all like crazy talented. Yeah, that's the thing.
That's
like
the
Sutton,
hard part.
I love Sutton. I love Patrick. I think he's super underrated. I mean, he got a contract, I think, not too long ago. So I guess Broncos don't really think he's underrated. But Judy, man, I just wish they had a quarterback. This is a team that if you took Aaron Rodgers, which who knows what would like, if you took Aaron Rodgers and you put him on the Denver Broncos, this team, offensive-wise, is a Super Bowl caliber offense.
With those receivers?
With those receivers and those running backs. Javonte Williams looks to be the real deal. Melvin Gordon's really nice as well. Plus Noah Fant, really nice tight end. This offense looks great. Just doesn't have a quarterback. So Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams are playing the game of which one falls in the end zone. Not fall, which one gets in the end zone. This week it was Javonte Williams. So, cool. But yeah, they're both, really top 20, top 25 guys. And you're just
Yeah,
hoping your guy
gonna say
gets in the
25.
end
Yeah.
zone.
Other side of that ball, the Chiefs, coming off a bye, not coming off a great week prior to the bye, which I think is a generous thing to say. Mahomes was very bad. Edwards-Helaire was barely top 15, which is not crazy bad for him. That's kind of where he's. That's actually better than he has been, but coming off the injury. I mean, you'd like to see more on this offense. All right, so just Mahomes didn't have a great day. I misspoke. But Hill was 15, not where you wanted. Here's the thing: you're starting Mahomes, you're starting Hill, Kelsey. We've talked about it. There's a lot of positions we debate. Kelsey is the best tight end in football, unquestionably. And honestly, Kelsey, Hill, Mahomes, and then probably Edwards-Helaire. But I think that's a situation where he's going to be ranked pretty well. But you kind of hope that you lucked into having better running backs than that.
Yeah, I mean, I think there might be 15, 20 guys you would have over Edwards-Helaire. So, I mean, I think there's a realistic chance
I think 20 is pushing it, but probably 15.
Look, I was just looking at the rankings and Josh Jacobs is at 18. I'd rather start him. But then you have Miles Sanders at 19. I'd put Clyde Edwards-Helaire over him.
Yeah.
Javonte Williams and Clyde. I don't know on that one. That one would be tough for me. But yeah, he's right there.
I'm starting Edwards-Helaire there,
maybe top 20. But he's on the bottom of the top 20. But yeah, and outside, really, that's basically it. Mahomes, obviously, you have to play this game. If you remember, they played Dallas, 19-9 game, ugly defensive game. The Kansas City defense that obviously played really well, holding the Cowboys only.
And obviously,
points.
for a few weeks there, Mahomes gave us a scare, 22-17, 19, not good, but then came back and we tell number one. So you know what he can do. He's arguably one of the most talented quarterbacks in the league. You have to throw him out there, and you just unfortunately it looks like this season there's going to be some weeks like week 11 or week 7 where he's in the 20s, unfortunately.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm actually really interested in this game, this Sunday night game. Kansas City is 10-point favorite, so Vegas kind of expects, I guess, Kansas City to the offense to be going here. Over-unders at 47. Kansas City always has crazy high over-unders because their offense is always pretty good and their defense has usually not been good. But 47, it's not the highest of the week, though. I talked about that one earlier, the 50.5 points. But, yeah, I think this could be, we'll see. I'm hoping to see a nice Kansas City game. I mean, I would like to see Denver wide receivers have good games, too, because I like them. But I think it's more likely that Kansas City... This could be the game. Maybe their offense. They're going to get in playoff gear. They could still get They could still get the number 1 seed. As bad as this season has been, they're 7-4. They could start running some wins off here, and they could be the 1 seed. Which we haven't thought Kansas City to be one of the best teams in the NFL, but because the AFC is so all over the place with teams, they're so congested. Kansas City could easily rattle off 4 or 5 here, and then they're the 1 seed.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they're going to come off the bye hot. So, I think that'll be a really good Sunday night game. Monday night, Patriots-Bills. Patriots, who somehow just figure out a way to make it work. Mac Jones, nice game, top 5. His second top 5 in 2 weeks, or in 3 weeks, I mean. So, good for him. Still not a guy, I guess maybe if you've been playing quarterback roulette and somehow you have Mac Jones, you can roll him out there, but running backs continue to be a little bit of a nightmare. We got 2 top 30. Harris was 21, Bolden was 29, Stevenson was 44, who's the week before that was the best running back. I'm sorry, you're not going to know which running back. You're just not. I wish I could tell you or give you some kind of indication. You're going to have no idea which one of these running backs has the best day.
Yeah, I mean, I still think it's probably Harris is 1. He had 11 carries. Stevenson had 9 carries is 2. Both borderline top 25 guys. Bolden, yes, he was top 30, but it was all receiving. He had 4 catches for 54 yards, so he's much lower. So I think it's Stevenson and Harris. You're just guessing. You would if you had to bet, you would say
probably
it's
Harris,
between those two. Though, Bolden is kind of it'd have to be receiving. So it's he's a deep league guy. Stevenson, Harris. top 25 borderline. Harris probably top 25. Stevenson maybe a few spots below, but right there. And you're just hoping to get in the end zone. Like they're both going to be involved. So that one, if one guy's on the field, obviously the other guy's not. So you're just, Stevenson had 33% of snaps, Bolden 32%, Damon Harris 37%. So obviously it is like roulette. We don't know. This was a complete just destruction. Tennessee got destroyed. New England, the last 5 games, they've outscored their opponents by 148 points or something. It's like the most ridiculous thing ever. Or maybe it's last 6 games, I think. The last 6 games, they've outscored their opponents by 148 points. They are just absolutely destroying everybody. So, including a Tennessee team that was, leading the division. So it's just, I know that they're banged up, but still, I mean, just destruction. So I don't know what to happen with this game though, because they're going into Buffalo, divisional game. This is a real test. And speaking of Buffalo, let's talk about Buffalo. So going into Buffalo, I didn't really talk about that besides the wide receivers. Did you want to say anything about the wide receivers with Jacoby Myers, Kendrick Bourne?
No.
Jacoby Myers, I guess, would be the guy.
It's Myers if you have to, but Bourne has some really nice upside. I mean, he's got 2 top 5 performances in 3 weeks, but he also has a very, very low floor. Like, very low, floor. I actually said that correctly and then corrected myself.
Yeah, I think those guys are more probably deeper leagues that you would play
Deep
besides Jacoby Myers is probably not being played in like standard 12-team leagues. He could be on maybe if you really are desperate. But the Bills have a quarterback, Josh Allen. He is good.
He's good at football.
Quarterback 1. I think I saw. I know Lamar Jackson, we talked about a while ago, but I was just thinking about this. Lamar Jackson entered the week quarterback 1, currently quarterback 5. That just tells you how much, obviously he didn't have a good day, how much.
It's very close.
It just moves around so much. This week, though, Josh Allen takes over the number 1 spot. And besides him and Diggs, the running back situation, well, those guys obviously are starting.
Knox.
And Knox, yeah, because he's been solid. He got 2 touchdowns in this game. But again, he's one of those top 10 guys, Dawson Knox. I don't know what to do with the running backs or do anything. Do you just...
I have no idea. I mean, I'm just trying to avoid him if I can.
Singletary got 68% of the snaps. Breida got 32%. I don't see how you start either one of them. Obviously, Breida you wouldn't start, but I don't see how you could start.
And Breida had a nice fantasy, like a okay fantasy day, but he got a receiving touchdown like that. That made a huge difference. I guess if you have to start one in Singletary, but I don't. It's
like basically a coin flip, I think.
Just outside of
Breida
outside of 30,
got
maybe?
the touchdown. That's why he had 2 catches for 29 yards and a touchdown. That's why he was the better day. But it's like. I mean, I guess because of his receiving, Breida's been top 25 the last 3 weeks. So
he's got good upside. I in a deeper league, sure, risk it. I would probably be more likely to start Breida solely because I like upside. But I think if you're looking for who like the smart play is, it's probably Singletary.
Yeah, it's close. I definitely think it's close, and I would be surprised, even if it's in Buffalo, assuming it's going to be cold. Buffalo's generally not warm at this time of year.
Hard-hitting analysis.
But I would not be surprised that with the way that New England's offense is clicking and just the team overall, that maybe Buffalo might be behind in this game. And, they might have to
I think it's a real possibility.
They might they're favored in this game, but it's basically a coin flip. On this game, and I'm going to be honest with you, I have no idea what's going to happen in this game. This is one of these games that I literally think there's a lot of range of outcomes, but I think it's going to be close, but I don't know.
I don't see either team running away with it, but unfortunately, I kind of see just the streak they're on is the Patriots probably end up taking it.
I would say I wouldn't see that, but New England's been destroying everybody. And
Buffalo's a different animal.
And Josh Allen obviously sometimes just has ridiculous fantasy days, and who knows, they might put up 21 before New England catches their breath, and it could be I feel like Buffalo has the potential to blow out anybody. So it's like I don't know, but I hope it's obviously a good game for Monday night, and I think it will be. I think this is a fantastic Monday night game. I hope it's a good game and not like what we just got, that stinker of Seattle versus Washington. And our Sunday night was Cleveland Baltimore. We had 2 of the worst night games in a back-to-back. What a terrible way.
Well, and we've talked about this. They start flexing pretty soon, so that should help.
But sometimes you expect, like Baltimore, Cleveland, you're expecting those to be good. You're expecting that
That
to be
should have
a
been
good
a
game,
decent game.
and it was
Yeah.
terrible. Broncos, Chiefs on Sunday night. I think obviously I don't think it's a divisional game, but I think the Chiefs should easily take that. But this game, Monday night, Patriots versus the Bills. I don't know who I like, but I like the game. I'm gonna like watching the game. So
it's gonna be a good game for sure.
and I like to see if they are able to, if New England's able to go into Buffalo and win this game. I mean, they might. I mean, now we're already talking about them. Everybody's talking about them, but this could be like, we might be starting to talk about New England's kind of maybe in that discussion, like maybe they're the best team in all of football. Nobody's really talking about them, like even though they've been on this streak, like everybody's like, yeah, it's Tampa Bay, or maybe it's Buffalo, or maybe it is New England. Maybe it's Arizona. Like every team is flawed, so it's hard to say at this point. But
it'll probably end up being New England and Tampa Bay, just because we just can't get away from it. Like no matter how much we want football to change, it's going to end up being that. So. All right, that wraps up going into week 13. I don't know what happened. It feels like just yesterday we were fumbling through our first episode, trying to figure out what we were going to do. And now we're like semi-fumbling through this episode 12 weeks in. So looks like it should be a good slate of football. Excited. We've talked about it. We're in that home stretch. Like we're probably creeping up on playoff weeks for certain people. So a lot of teams probably in must-win situations fantasy-wise. Hopefully we helped a little bit. We appreciate you coming by. If you made it this far, thank you. Means a lot to us. Hit the like button. Helps us a lot. Subscribe if you haven't. We're putting out content multiple times a week. And leave a comment if there's anything you want us to chat about or anything like that. Definitely check in on those. And we appreciate everything.
Yeah, this could be. I mean, this might be the last week before playoffs. If it's a 2-week playoff and maybe 4 teams, it could be if you don't play the last week. This might be all like until the playoffs. So good luck. Go get that win. Hit the like button on your way out. I don't think it shows dislikes anymore. So on our side we can see it, but on your side you can't see if a bunch of people disliked it. So you'll never know. So that's good.
Just assume nobody disliked it.
Yeah.
We're awesome.
Like the video because that just makes us feel better. But if you dislike, we can't. Well, I actually think we can see it, but people can't see it. So you didn't dislike it. You liked it. You hit the button. But thank you so much.
I'm pretty sure if you made it this far in, you couldn't have disliked it too much.
Yeah. But thank you so much. Have a wonderful, wonderful week. We'll be back definitely for Saturday injury episode. We'll see if there's anything in between, but these 2 episodes, this longer one and the injury episode, always be here, and we'll see if we mix in some other stuff. But have a wonderful day, wonderful week, good luck, and we'll see you on Saturday or before then if we randomly should make an episode. All right, see ya.
See ya.